My name is Alara. I'm 33. And I'm a data scientist. At 7 a.m. on a Sunday, I woke up in my childhood guest room in Austin to find my life's work had been stolen. The $92,000 in my business account, my entire startup seed fund, was gone. When I confronted my father, Arthur, he just shrugged. It was just sitting there. He said, "We had an opportunity." Before I tell you how I handled this, let me know where you're watching from in the comments. And hit that subscribe button if you've ever had to protect your future from the very people who were supposed to protect your past. This wasn't the first time. That's the part that sticks with you. The pattern. My father, Arthur, was a man who lived in the blueprint of his next great idea. He was all charisma and grand speeches at barbecues. But he had zero follow-through. And my mother, Brenda, she was the chief enabler, always nodding along, living in the fantasy he spun. My earliest memory of this, I was 10. My grandfather, her dad, had given me a beautiful, leather-bound astronomy textbook. It was this gorgeous old thing with detailed maps of the stars. I loved it. A week later, it was gone from my room. I found my father in the garage, smoking a cigarette. I just needed to show it to an investor. "Sweetie," he said, not looking at me. He was very impressed. I found the pawn ticket in his coat pocket 2 days later. $50. He hadn't shown it to an investor. He'd sold it. He sold my knowledge, my future, for $50. And in his mind, it wasn't even theft. It was just borrowing from family. I escaped at 18 with $520 and a full scholarship to UT Austin. For the next 15 years, I built a wall of financial security, brick by painstaking brick. I worked 3 jobs through my master's in data science. I climbed the ladder in the Austin tech scene, working at 2 different startups, learning everything I could. I lived like a broke student while my colleagues bought Teslas and condos downtown. Because that $92,000 in my business account, that wasn't vacation money. It wasn't a down payment on a house. It was my company. It was the faith of the 2 angel investors who wrote me that first check. It was the salaries of the 2 junior developers I had just hired. Bright-eyed kids, fresh out of college. It was my entire life's work. My one shot. All distilled into a single bank account. I'd set a hard boundary 3 years ago. After I'd given them an $8,000 bridge loan for one of his failed ventures, money I never saw again, I finally said no. No more money. No more enabling. Their response was predictable. The monthly calls stopped. They devolved into quarterly guilt trips. I became the ungrateful daughter. The one who was too good for them now. So when the invitation to my mother's lavish 50th birthday party arrived, I almost tossed it. But my brother, Evan, called me. "Just come," he said. "Mom's really excited. Maybe it'll be a chance to reset." Against my better judgment, I went. The house itself should have been the first warning. It was this oversized, newly built suburban monster in a development they had no business being in. All cheap materials trying to look expensive. My father, Arthur, was in rare form. He slung his arm around me, parading me to his friends. "This is my daughter, Alara, the data genius. She's got her own company. You know?" My mother was equally attentive, pressing a glass of wine into my hand, asking me questions about my investors. It was the most interest they'd shown in my life in years. I felt a small, stupid flicker of hope. And then, after dinner, my father set the trap. "Alara," he said, looking panicked. "The old family laptop. It has the slideshow for your mom. All her baby pictures. And it's frozen. It won't connect." My mother put her hand to her chest, looking devastated. "Oh, Arthur. No." He turned to me, his eyes wide. "You're the tech wizard. Can you fix it, please, for your mom?" It was a brilliant piece of social engineering. He was using my skills against me, in public. For a sentimental reason I couldn't refuse. "Sure, Dad," I said. I sat down at the old, dusty laptop in his office. It was slow. Barely functional. I think the network driver is corrupted, I said. I'll have to download a new one. I spent 20 minutes on that machine. I logged into my personal email to get a software key. I logged into my company's cloud drive to download a utility. I typed in passwords. I authenticated. I was just a Lara. The good daughter. Fixing a computer. Trying to retrieve their memories. I had no idea they had installed a keylogger. I had no idea they were sitting there. Watching me. Stealing mine. The hope I'd felt last night didn't survive the morning. I woke at 7 a.m. to my phone buzzing on the nightstand. Not a single buzz. But a frantic series of them. Transaction alerts. Half asleep. I opened my banking app, expecting to see a coffee charge. Instead, I saw the balance of my business account. My stomach hollowed out. The balance was $97. 97. Yesterday, it had held $92,000. My first thought was that it was a glitch. A technical error. I closed the app. Force quit it. And reopened it. The balance remained unchanged. My heart started pounding. A thick, heavy beat against my ribs. I scrolled to the transaction history. A series of 8 large transfers. All processed between 2 and 4 in the morning. All authorized from an unknown device. Still in my pajamas. I called the bank's fraud department. My hands were trembling so badly, I had to put the phone on speaker. While on hold, I looked at the old, dark laptop sitting on the guest room desk. When a representative finally answered, the conversation destroyed any hope of an easy fix. Yes, Ms. Elarda, she said, her voice professionally calm. We show several large wire transfers from your business account last night. I didn't authorize those transfers, I said, my voice tight. It has to be fraud. There was a pause. The sound of typing. Ma'am. According to our records, the transfers were authorized using your correct password and the 2-factor authentication app on your registered device. The accessing IP address. Well, it appears to be your current location. My blood ran cold. Can you tell me where the money went? I asked. Already knowing the answer. Several new accounts. Ma'am, the largest transfer was to an account under the name Arthur. I ended the call. My father. My own father. I looked at the laptop. The party. The love bombing. My mother's 50,000-watt smile. My father parading me around as his genius daughter. The desperate plea to save the slideshow. It was all a plan. A coordinated, premeditated technical assault. Using my own skills. My own profession. Against me. And in that moment, something inside me shifted. The nausea and the panic were replaced by a sudden, chilling clarity. This wasn't a desperate act. This was entitlement. I finally understood. In my father's mind, my success was never my own. My company. My investors. That $92,000. It was just an extension of him. It was his retirement fund. It was a family tax that he, as the parent, felt entitled to cash in whenever he wanted. My hard work was simply a resource he hadn't tapped yet. I wanted to storm downstairs. I wanted to scream. To throw that laptop against the wall. To demand an answer. But you can't reason with people who see you as a resource. An emocional? Screaming, fight, is what they expect. It's what they want. It's a distraction they know how to win. So, I got cold. I didn't make a sound. I packed my overnight bag with methodical, silent movements. I put my laptop in its case. I took my phone charger from the wall. I walked downstairs. Past the kitchen where I could hear them laughing and making breakfast. I didn't say goodbye. I walked out the front door. Got into my car. And shut the door with a quiet click. I drove to the end of their street. Parked under a tree. And made 2 calls. The first was to my brother. Evan. His voice was thick with sleep. Elara, what's up? Evan. I said. My voice steady. Did Mom and Dad mention anything about coming into money recently? There was a long pause. Yeah. Actually, he said. Suddenly wary. Dad's been bragging for a week about a huge windfall. Said he was about to close the biggest deal of his life. Why? They stole my startup fund. Evan. $92,000. Sometime last night. Oh my God. He whispered. Elara. I didn't know. I swear. I know you didn't. I said. I'll call you later. I hung up and immediately dialed my second call. The one person who had always seen them for who they were. My father's sister. My Aunt Valerie. She's a successful accountant. The total opposite of her brother. All logic. No flesh. She picked up on the second ring. Elara? It's Sunday. Is everything okay? Aunt Valerie. I said. I'm at a diner. Off the highway. Can you meet me? Arthur and Brenda just stole $92,000 from my company. There was no gasp. No. Are you sure? Just a cold. Hard sigh. I'll be there in 10 minutes. She said. Don't call them. Don't text them. And don't you dare cry. This isn't a family dispute. Elara. This is felony wire fraud. I have a lawyer. The next 48 hours were a blur of cold. Hard logistics. There was no time for grief. Grief was a luxury. This was about survival. Aunt Valerie and I met with a cyber fraud attorney she knew. A sharp woman named Hannah, who didn't waste time on sympathy. She looked at the bank statements, the screenshots of the laptop's driver logs, and my testimony. This is remarkably clean, she said, which was a horrifying thing to hear. The keylogger makes it premeditated. This is felony wire fraud and computer crimes. We'll file a police report immediately. We'll also file an emergency injunction to freeze any accounts we can find linked to your father. We did all of it. We filed the report. We documented the laptop, which was still in my possession. The bank, now dealing with a lawyer and a police report, moved quickly to freeze my parents' accounts. But it was already too late. Of the $92,000, most of it was gone. Vanished. Cashed out. Moved to accounts we couldn't immediately trace. Only about $12,000 remained. And then, as if on cue, the texts from my parents started. My phone, which had been silent, lit up. The first one was from my mother. Brenda. Elara? You left without saying goodbye. That was very rude. Your father and I are worried. I stared at the message. Worried? Not we're sorry. Not what's wrong. Then, an hour later, from my father. A long, rambling text. You need to call us now. Your mother is hysterical. I don't know what you think you're doing. But you are overreacting, and you're going to ruin a big opportunity for this family. This is not how we handle things. I felt a cold, heart caught tighten in my stomach. They weren't sorry. They weren't even pretending to be sorry. They were just angry. I'd locked them out. They were angry. The resource had fought back. I didn't reply to either of them. The real bomb, the one that changed everything, didn't come from my lawyer. It came from Aunt Valerie. While my attorney was tracing the wire transfers, my call had planted a seed of pure terror in my aunt. She was an accountant. Meticulous and organized. She managed her own retirement fund. But she had let Arthur, her charismatic brother, advise her on some investments. Panicked by what he had done to me, she spent all of Monday doing a deep, forensic audit of her own portfolio. She called me Monday night. Her voice wasn't sad. It was hollow. Elara, she said. And I heard her take a shaky breath. He lost it. He lost all of it. What do you mean? All of what? My retirement, she said. Her voice cracked. $300,000. He'd been managing a portion of it. Convinced me he had an in on some new tech venture. But it wasn't real. He gambled it away. Elara. All of it. Over the last year. I sat down, the phone feeling heavy in my hand. He wasn't stealing your $92,000 for a new opportunity, she said, her voice breaking into a bitter sob. He was stealing it to try and pay me back. He was robbing his daughter to cover up the fact that he'd already robbed his sister. He was trying to plug one hole in the dam with water from another. It was a betrayal so pathetic, so desperate, and so profoundly stupid. I couldn't even process it. This wasn't a single act of theft. It was a complete financial implosion. He had ruined his own sister. And his solution was to ruin his own daughter. We didn't give them a warning. There was no, "We need to talk" text. This was past talking. The next morning, I pulled up to that oversized, particle board palace. But I wasn't alone. Me Lavier, Hannah, was in the passenger seat. A leather portfolio on her lap. In the car behind us was Aunt Valerie, and parked discreetly down the street, waiting for our signal, was a Travis County Sheriff's deputy. My hand was steady as I rang the doorbell. The adrenaline wasn't fear, it was focus. It was the same feeling I got right before a massive data model finished compiling. I was just waiting for the result. My father, Arthur, opened the door. His face flickered with surprise, then settled into that practiced, charming smile. "Ilara, we were so worried. You just vanished. And who's this?" "This is Hannah," I said, my voice flat. "My attorney." "And that," I said, nodding to the car pulling up, "is your sister?" His smile didn't just falter, it inverted. "An attorney? What is this?" "My mother, Brenda," appeared behind him, wiping her hands on an apron. Her eyes darted from my face to the stern-looking woman beside me, to Aunt Valerie getting out of her car. "May we come in?" Arthur, Valerie asked. Her voice was pure ice. It wasn't a question. We stood in the living room, the one with the 70-inch TV and the furniture that still had the showroom tags on it. The air was thick and sour. My father, Ever, the showman, tried to take control. He let out a short, scoffing laugh. "Okay, I get it. You're upset. You brought a lawyer, and you brought the cops." He gestured to the window, where the deputy was now visible, walking up the driveway. "Ilara, this is embarrassing. You're making a scene." My mother chimed in, her voice quivering with practiced indignation. "Airing our dirty laundry for the whole neighborhood to see. After everything we've done for you." "Embarrassing?" I repeated. "You think this is embarrassing?" My father puffed out his chest, falling back on his usual bluster. "It was a loan. Ilara, a simple family loan. You're going to drag your own father to court over a loan. Who do you think the family is going to believe me? Or the ungrateful daughter who abandoned us?" He was still playing the part. He still thought he was in control. He thought this was the same old emotional drama he'd always won. Hannah, Milavier, stepped forward. She opened her portfolio. "Mr. Arthur," she said, her voice cutting through the room. "This isn't a family dispute. This is a formal demand for the immediate return of $92,000. It's a misunderstanding," he snapped. "Obtained through felony wire fraud." Hannah continued, not missing a beat. "Via a keylogger you installed on that laptop." She pointed to the old device still sitting on his desk. "We have the logs, we have the transfer records, and we have the police report." My father's face paled. The word keylogger hit him like a physical slap. The blood drained from his face, leaving his fake tan looking yellow and sick. He stammered, That's a lie. You can't prove that." "I can," I said, speaking for the first time. But it was Aunt Valerie who delivered the checkmate. She had been standing silently by the door, her face a mask of cold fury. She took one step into the room, and all the air left with it. "Was it a loan too?" "Arthur," she asked, her voice quiet, but it echoed louder than a scream. My father flinched. "Valerie, this doesn't concern you." "It doesn't," she shot back. "Was my $300,000 a loan?" "Two. My retirement. The money you lost. The money you gambled away on that fake venture. The money you were trying to replace by stealing her seed fund." My father's jaw went slack. He looked like he'd been shot. But the worst part was my mother. Her head snapped toward him, her eyes wide with a new, genuine horror. "What? What? 300,000? Arthur, what is she talking about?" He had never told her. In that single second, his entire world of lies, the successful business, the big opportunity, the image of the provider, it all collapsed in on itself. He was just a pathetic, aging con man, exposed in his own living room. He had no charm left, no bluster, no escape route. He just stood there, mute, as his wife and his sister stared at him, finally seeing the real him. That was the moment the sheriff's deputy knocked on the open door. "Mr. Arthur," the deputy said, his voice polite but firm. "We have a warrant to collect that laptop as evidence in a financial crimes investigation." My father didn't even look up. He just sank into one of his new, unpaid-for armchairs. A completely broken man. The legal battle was exactly what my lawyer said it would be: brutal, short, and decisive. My father's confidence, his entire charismatic facade, was built on the assumption that we would always play by the unspoken rules of family drama. He was prepared for screaming matches, for tears, for guilt trips. He was not prepared for a cyber fraud attorney and a criminal investigation. The keylogger evidence was undeniable. The time-stamped data of my keystrokes, matched against the wire transfers, was a digital, smoking gun. Faced with two separate criminal cases, one for felony wire fraud against me, and another for theft and financial elder abuse against his own sister, Aunt Valerie, my father's entire world crumbled. A had no defense. He had no charm. He just had the truth. And it was ugly. He pled guilty to avoid a trial. The judgment was swift. The court ordered the immediate, forced sale of their oversized, unaffordable house to make both me and Aunt Valerie whole. The proceeds were split. I received my full $92,000. Aunt Valerie received what was left of her $300,000. My parents were sentenced to 5 years of probation and mandatory, court-ordered financial counseling. The family, as you can imagine, fractured. The news of his dual betrayal, robbing his daughter to hide the fact he'd robbed his sister, was so shockingly greedy, so pathetic, that no one could defend him. My brother, Evan, finally saw the truth. He packed a bag, moved out of that house, and came to stay on my couch. The rest of the extended family, horrified, just went silent. The money was returned. The accounts were balanced. But the relationship was over. About a week after the sentencing, I received a letter. It was the court-mandated apology. I opened it, hoping for, I don't even know what, a shred of remorse, an acknowledgement of the violation. What I got was 2 pages of excuses. It was a masterpiece of narcissistic deflection. He blamed the pressure he was under. He blamed the fast-moving tech market. He blamed his desire to provide for my mother. He never once used the word, "I stole." He used, "I made a mistake. I overextended. And I borrowed." The letter ended with a line that I'll never forget: "I hope one day you'll understand that everything I did for this family." He still didn't get it. He wasn't sorry he did it. He was only, and truly, I'm sorry that he got caught. I read the letter once. Then I folded it and put it in a file I labeled closed. That was the day I began the formal process of going no contact. I blocked their numbers. I blocked their emails. I was finally, officially, done. It's been 1 year. I'm standing in a bright, open-plan office in East Austin. The walls are whiteboards, covered in algorithms and code. This is the headquarters of Kepler Data. My company. I used the recovered $92,000 to secure a new, much larger round of funding. My investors, seeing the police reports and the court orders, they aren't angry. They were impressed. They said if I could handle that, I could handle anything the market threw at me. We just launched our beta. My new chief financial officer is sitting in the glass office behind me. She's ruthless with a balance sheet and makes all our projections. Her name is Valerie, my aunt, and our new intern, the one learning to code on the side while managing our community outreach, is a 29-year-old musician named Evan. My brother. We built our own family. One based on respect, not obligation. One built on trust, not theft. We don't talk about Arthur or Brenda. We're too busy building our future. I learned the hardest lesson of my life through this. Letting go of the hope that toxic people will change is the only way to find peace. We're all raised to believe that blood is thicker than water. But that just means it's easier to drown in. Society tells you to forgive, to be the bigger person. But it never tells you that cutting ties, that nuclear option, isn't an act of cruelty. It's an act of survival. You are not required to set yourself on fire just to keep other people warm. Have you ever had to choose between your family and your future? Share your story in the comments below. If this resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe for more stories about breaking cycles and building a life on your own terms. Remember, you have a right to protect your peace.